Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's live stream organized by JetBrains. I'm Paul Everett, developer advocate, and I'm hosting today on a topic which is not AI. In fact, backstage, we were joking that in StreamYard, they asked 1 minute before live, hey, do you want to try the experimental AI features? And the three of us are like, no, actually, we don't want to do that because our topic is Django trends for 2024, a look at the Django Developers Survey from last year. To give expert analysis, we're not talking to me. Instead, we're bringing in actual experts. We're bringing in the Sarahs. First, Sarah Abdurrahman, Django Software Foundation board member, Django Paris organizer, DjangoProject.com maintainer, 50 other things which we don't have time to list. Sarah A., bienvenue.
Merci. Hello.
Next, our not so long lost buddy, Sarah Boyce, Django maintainer, co-founder of Django Not Space, which we'll talk about in just a second. Winner of the 2023 Malcolm Tredenick Prize. Recently an advocate here with us at JetBrains, and now a Django fellow. Sarah B., good to see you.
Good to see you, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having both of you showing up. I've seen all these tweets about the Sarahs, and now I've got the Sarahs. This is best day of the year for me. We're talking about Django trends from the survey, but one other high impact thing that's kind of been going on in Django, something both of you have your fingerprints on, Django Not Space. Sarah B., give us a little background on what it is, and then both of you maybe riff a little bit on how's it going, where's it going? Sarah.
Sure. So as many people might know, getting new contributors into open source can be challenging. And it's something that Django has experienced. And Django Not Space is a 8-week mentorship program where we try to onboard a bunch of people into what it means to contribute to open source and get them really integrated in the community. It isn't just for Django Core. We also are doing this with the other third-party packages that exist in the Django ecosystem. And it's all got this very cute space theme. We have the Djangonauts, we have navigators and captains. And yeah, it's all really come together quite recently. And if this is interesting to you, applications are open for our next session.
Oh, yeah. Should have seen that coming, everybody.
That session will start mid-June, I believe. And I can share a link to that later. But yeah, it's Django Not Space.
Sarah A., how does it feel to be seeing this whole thing take off?
It's really amazing. Like, we built it like from nothing and see like all the people joining and contributing. It's really nice.
All the years you've done the Django Paris meetup and stuff like that, and now you have a place to point people to, right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so we've got some housekeeping that we want to get onto before we get into the meat of this, so we'll jump right into it. First thing on the slides, we'd like to make this live stream as conversational as possible. As you can see, we like to have fun. We're here to entertain you, but you're here to entertain us as well. So if you have any questions or comments during the live stream, don't wait till the end. We're looking over there in the comments window, and I will try and keep up and bring questions to the group in between sections and stuff like that. We're in YouTube and Twitch. Not sure if anybody is actually out there in Twitch. If you are, we'll answer questions there as well. But we'll take some pauses as we go to talk through your questions. Usually the most important, for the first question, I joke on this every time. I've done this 50 times in a row. I'm undefeated on this. Someone's going to ask, is this thing being recorded? It is being recorded. It's YouTube. Of course it's recorded. It's available immediately. But we will also put up a blog post and a tweet later, publishing a link to the recording. We will also be covering, actually, it's the entire thing. We're going to go through the survey on the page, which all of you, our beautiful viewers, are the first people in the world to see this. We're going to go through the actual survey. The first link is to the developer survey, where we'll spend a lot of the time. But I'm actually going to start with the Python developer survey to see how Django is doing. Feel free to follow along. It's got sections, and Sarah, I think we're going to riff on each section and then cover any points that come up during chat. Does that sound good?
Yes.
All right, cool. So on with the show. With that, we will go ahead and share my screen and start with the Python developer survey. And these are, I think the top line is the previous year. The bottom line is the current year for the survey and relative changes between the two. One thing I'd like to point out on this, and that we were joking about this backstage, is as Mark Twain said, rumors of the death of Django are greatly exaggerated. Django's actually gone up a little bit. If you stretch back like 5 years, I might just be making this up. Sarah B, correct me if I'm getting this wrong. There seemed to be a Flask is biting into Django, Flask is biting into Django, but that seems to stabilize, and Fast API is biting into Flask. And people are really comfortable with where Django's at. Sarah, well, I'll start with Sarah A. Sarah A, do you buy the hypothesis that Django has basically stable on its market share?
Yeah, I think so. Like the thing which is useful, especially in Django, it's like their release and it's mostly stable. If you want to upgrade, it's really kind of simple to do it. And this is something like many people used to like in Django, and I think it's also why people keep using it.
Sarah B, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's no like, I wouldn't say we're super competitive between the frameworks. There are many people who use Django and Fast API and Flask and all this kind of stuff. So I think Django has some strengths and ways that it really shines, and so does Flask, and so does Fast API. And therefore, I think people will choose different ones depending on their situation. And yeah, there is a big community of Django lovers, of which I'm one of them, obviously.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
And I think you're both lovers of the kind of Django as a REST API backend and something else in the front end. But even on that, it seems to be that the story has stabilized. I actually have a comment on that, which I'll show. But first, I'll show this comment. Hey.
Good.
We can give the heart for that one. Here's the comment that I wanted to point out. And it's an interesting point. People talk about Django REST framework, but also Ninja as alternatives that are kind of keeping Django current. Do either one of you want to talk about that?
I can go if you want.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't use Django Ninja so far, but I have a lot of friends who are using it, and I heard like it's really easy to use it, and it's built the way like it's kind of similar to Fast API. So you have like all the fancy thing from that, and also like all the community behind Django. So it's like the mix of the both, and best word.
And then Varun afterwards said that also that he uses both Fast API and Django. I'll flash up a quick comment and then we'll get over to the actual Django survey. My colleague Mukul had to put this comment up there just to make sure that the streak remains.
Of course it is.
Of course, yes. Sarah and Mukul worked together on the those awesome videos. Okay, over to the Django Developer Survey. And again, if you have comments, go ahead and post them. We will start with the first section. These are the sections that we will be going through. Django usage in general. Anything stand out to you on this? Who wants to go first?
I can just chat with some stuff like this. So I would say this gives you a little bit of an overview of how Django works, and for some things around the versions of Django, I think it's good to note that we do have a feature release. A feature release is the 0.0, 0.1, 0.2, and these happen every 8 months. So some of this change over time, that you can see that nice, beautiful band of green moving along. An element of this is it's the natural movement as the years move, that we move through the different supported versions. And Django is kind of special that it's basically like a calendar system, like a calendar versioning system, where the releases are timed, kind of like Ubuntu has this, but it's using like a semantic versioning kind of format. So not everybody necessarily is aware that these are scheduled. And I know this caused some confusion when we released 5.0, for example. So some people are like, oh, what's the major change? You've gone up a major version. What's the major change? And it's just like 8 months after 4.2.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that gives a little bit of context around there. Any other comments? Yeah,
we're getting some good comments, and I'll put them up in a second. But Sarah A., you go first. Anything in this segment about including what I've just brought up about Jeff's comment?
Yeah, I think he's right. Most of the time people install Django like that, and it's beginning to be the stable release. And I know that there are a lot of comments previously saying we should go to the latest stable version, and not only keeping the LTS1. So I think it's more adopted now. So I think it's representing in the results.
I'm going to just make up an opinion that I should have confirmed before, but I was actually surprised in Python how aggressive people were about staying within the last couple of releases, and things like 3.6 have kind of disappeared into history now. But it seems like Django's actually a little bit more aggressive than that. And here's a couple of comments that came up. Varun had another point about upgrading, and that it's not that hard. But the point I really wanted to bring up was Alex saying this. And Django upgrade is an Adam Johnson thing. Is that right?
Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah. And so tools like that, it's like, Sarah, do you trust Adam?
Do you know that Sarah already done a video to explain how to use it, and it's amazing.
Very well done. Very, very well done on that. Okay, we'll go ahead and move through. I want to riff a little bit on Jeff's point about we just talked about how the Django community is really good at staying current. But also Django as a project of a certain age, which someone like me can really appreciate, isn't into revolution, right? Would you agree with that? Stability is a hallmark. Either of you want to comment on that?
Yes.
And comment on it in terms of working through tickets and things like that.
So stability is almost like a fundamental or an underlying value of the way that Django is progressing. So it has an incredibly strict deprecation policy. And we do have a process for deprecating things. But the general rule is Django won't break on you. Like it won't, and it will give everybody in the community lots of notice about planned changes. And anything that's a big change is likely to be, there has to be an incredibly good reason, like an incredibly strong reason. Otherwise, it's like, it's not worth it. And that this is an appreciation of, I'm not sure how old Django is, it's something like 18 years old. And there's many packages that are built on top of it. And those authors of maintainers of those packages also need to adapt to Django's changes and all this kind of stuff. So it's like there's an understanding that Django is the foundation of many websites and other open source packages, and therefore stability is incredibly important and it's taken really seriously. Yeah.
Speaking of taking really seriously, here's a comment about security being taken seriously, which relates a little bit to revolution versus stability. Do either one of you want to comment on Django's security track record over the last few years?
I can, but if Sarah wants to, I will shut up.
I think you can go because you know more the process of the security team.
Yeah, okay. So this is something I've recently learned a bit more about. But yes, we do have a security team at Django that does receive security reports that all get investigated and confirmed whether this is indeed a security issue or not. I would also say that because Django has been around for quite a while, there isn't actually that much left. So there are very few security reports that are valid, and those that are get addressed in process very promptly and sorted out. So yeah, it's one of the reasons to make sure that you do upgrade to the latest monthly release. This is the final point of the bug,
Sure.
so not a feature release, the monthly one. Especially if you're a person who is using the LTS, because after some time, those are the only reasons there will be a release. There will be a release if there is some kind of security update, at which you need to upgrade as soon as possible. So.
I have a comment I want to flash up. Sarah A., you are into accessibility, right?
Yes.
Accessibility people are also into testability, and this is a comment about the testability, which makes Django upgrades painless. Do you want to agree or disagree with this?
Oh yes, that's completely true. Like we're trying to improve the testing part. Also, as an accessibility team member, I'm trying to also add accessibility testing in Django. So we would like to have enough testing in Django to just avoid breaking things, as Sarah was saying before. And I think with a framework like that, to have enough testing, it's important. Even for contributors who came and don't know everything, they know that they will break something, and this is really useful.
I'm going to speed through a couple more to get on the next section. Here's kind of a counterpoint, that there was a period in the past where things were kind of painful. It wasn't just Django's fault. The migration from Python 2 to Python 3 was really hard for Django. When you get into the 3.6 time frame, there were some other changes, especially when you get into async. A lot of those things are in the bag now. The next big controversy is going to be sub-interpreters and no-GIL, but we will pretend they don't exist for the purposes of this live stream. Instead, we will show this one, which is a new person into the world of Python web frameworks. Welcome to you. Hope you love it as much as we do. Okay, so on to the next section. Technologies and frameworks. We will start with the first couple of things about kind of persistence and backends. I don't think anything surprises either one of you here. Sarah A., anything that didn't seem to fit?
No, I think it's really relevant. Like PostgreSQL has done a lot of improvement, and there is a lot of feature. Like, for example, if you want to implement like a map, there is a lot of things useful for that. And yes, it's not really a surprise for me.
Sarah B, got any comments?
I guess, yeah, no, it's not super surprising. Postgres, it continues to get new features in. So I do have like, I guess, a semi-exciting announcement for those who don't know. In Django 5.1, which is the next release of Django, the feature freeze is in a couple of weeks. We do have a new feature for Postgres, which is connection pools. So we are now going to support connection pooling in Postgres. So that's a feature Florian Apolliner had been working on, and that landed then. So it just keeps getting more and more mature. I also hear quite great things about SQLite. It was something that historically has been considered like a not suitable for production database, but I think opinions on that is shifting, and more people are also opting to use that in production, which is really cool because SQLite, you know, that's available to you using Python. So the other thing that's maybe interesting around Redis is there's the news about it. It's changed its open source license, and I guess it's not technically open source anymore. And it will be interesting to see if that has an impact on people's choices or not. But yeah, that will be something perhaps we can see in the next developer survey.
In the comments, we just had a SQLite food fight breakout. I will not flash them all up.
Okay.
But I will say I endorse completely what Sarah's saying. SQLite is suitable for production in more cases than you would think. It supports multiple readers. It even supports multiple writers to a degree. You just got to get the WoW mode set up correctly and stuff like that. And it's fast and simple. I'll go ahead and scroll. And there was also a comment about async. I'll go ahead and flash that up. There were two comments. I want to see if either one of you, Sarah A., do you have any comments you want to make about the adoption of async that you're seeing in all of the places that you manage?
I'm not fully familiar with async, to be honest, but I know that it's a lot more used than before, and people are really want to use that. So I think it's nice to have more support for that in Django, and yeah, I think it will be improving with the time. So.
All right, we will scroll down a little bit. I'll let both of you kind of choose a place that you'd like me to talk about. I'll just assume neither one of you are going to talk about Geo Django. Anything in core components or contributed apps you want to cover?
I will just say this is really stable. It just kind of shows the strength of Django, and it often doesn't change that much. Yeah.
Yeah, the admin is still popular, and I think it's also related to the fact it's simple to set up and use it. So really useful for developers.
Sure. All right, scrolling down, anything you want to cover on template engines or testing?
I know there was like a discussion that we need to make templating in Django as fast as Ginger 2 or adopt Ginger 2. But I don't know where that discussion is currently. But yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there is also a lot of improvement in Django related to templates. So maybe that also will be useful at some point.
we're going to have a spicy hot take when we scroll down a second to Sarah's call out in here, and the rest of this call is going to turn into an HTMX call. But before we do that, let me flash up this, another hot take. Any discussion about the future of how the admin UI looks?
I think this is a topic for me.
100% is for you.
Send your calls and letters to Sarah A.
And I've done a chat with Carlton and Will in Django chat about that. And personally, I would like to have a change related to that, but I know like the admin include a lot of stuff. And as we already say before, that we don't want to break Django, so we have to make aware of the changes we want to do. And there is some ongoing work related to that. We, especially the accessibility team, is trying to see if we can do some improvement on the accessibility part, but also if there is some changes we could do, like in the design changes, but like it's kind of the work related with the DSF board to make sure this is happening at some point. So yeah.
The comments reflect a little bit of the eternal schizophrenia about the Django admin UI and who it's for and who it's not for. Okay, I will keep going a little bit. Testing. So we lay out a whole bunch of the flavors of testing. I'm going to skip that because I think everybody's got a different definition for all of these things. So we probably can't get reliable numbers. Instead, the thing that continues to amaze me, how well PyTest is doing. I'm a big fan of PyTest, and I think it's really cool that the Django community is giving it as much adoption as kind of the in Django testing approach.
Yeah, 100%.
Either one of you want to comment on testing?
Sarah, what do you use at Octopus?
We use PyTest.
Oh, really? Good.
Do you do any PyTest with Playwright?
I know that we start to use it, but I'm not aware of this part really. Yeah, I mostly know PyTest because we use it at Octopus Synergy with Kraken, and yeah, it's really nice. It's really simple and readable, so I love it.
I'll do a call out to everyone in the chat. Post whether you're doing Selenium, Playwright, or neither, or something else that does kind of the same kind of thing. Okay, so let's move down a little bit to continuing on things. We talk about async, and then on to some web technology kind of stuff. For all the discussion out there about Tailwind, you can see that it is coming up really fast. People still kind of like out-of-the-box things like Bootstrap and my favorite, which is Bulma. Do either one of you do anything with CSS frameworks?
Me.
Yeah. Tell me your story, Sarah.
I've been using Tailwind CSS for some projects in a previous company, but also for Django Space, we are using it. And I think this is a tool which is really useful if you want to do something quickly and with teamwork, because it's like everyone has the same classes and you can refer to documentation. Mm-hmm. But I know it's not really the cup of tea of everyone, so I really get that. So yeah.
Okay, before going on to JavaScript and then I believe Sarah's quote, I'll flash up a hot take because we've got someone on this live stream uniquely qualified to handle it. Sarah A. Anything you'd like to add to that, or do you want to say patches accepted?
I mean, we accept all the contributions, so feel free to do any contribution you want. We will review it for sure. And yeah, as a part of the accessibility team, I'm trying also to improve that. So we are working on it.
I'll flash one up since fighting Tailwind is my hobby horse. I just ensure that I'm going to get hate upon hate in Mastodon for saying that. But the most recent release of Bulma embraces CSS variables, so there's a little bit of customization you can do without having to run to an enormous JavaScript tool chain. Just saying. Scrolling down a little bit, this was an interesting about JavaScript frameworks. This was an interesting result for me. I thought that React had just totally eaten the front end world in Django. And it's stable. People are looking at other things, but the stability of the jQuery number seems to indicate that people aren't necessarily unhappy with old school HTML templating.
Go ahead.
Go, please.
All right. I think it's a bit decreasing for jQuery since there are a lot of new things that appeared, like HTMX, and as it's really like simple to use and it's a bit similar to jQuery. It's useful to change, I will say, and there is also like all the people using REST framework, Django REST framework, so they will choose like more framework like Angular or Vue or React or stuff like that, where they want to build like all the front end.
Sure. We've certainly entered a phase of the chat where the Emacs versus Vim wars have broken out. And since I'm in charge, I will just cherry pick the winner. The winner's the one that agrees with me. She and I are like this in Mastodon on our threads. Every time she posts something, I'm like a moth to the flame coming over and jumping into the fight with her. So preach it, sister. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Sarah Boyce, what say you?
What say me? Is this about the third-party?
No. This is about HTMX is challenging the SPA hegemony.
Yeah. So, for example, I would say a lot of people have begrudgingly adopted some JavaScript framework like React, because I think this has been just like an accepted standard that if you want to have a modern web application, you need this single page application experience, and that using something like React with an API is the way to do this, to get all these nice interactivities, UX stuff that people want. And a lot of people who like to use Python, I would say, don't often like writing JavaScript. And so HTMX is just like heaven, because it's given them a solution that they can have some of this like interactivity without that page load that people want to avoid, and avoid writing JavaScript to achieve that. So it's really cool.
Sarah, do you want to jump to Sarah's defense, or you want to argue with her?
No, I think I will. I will agree, especially like when we were talking about like Django templates. In that case, you still using them, and we just adding like some piece of event load and stuff like that, and you're still in the Django world. So yeah, I think it's a good thing.
I totally throw my hat in your ring for both of you on this. These full stack frameworks are really stable on HTML generation, and they do accessibility, and they do HTTP caching, and they do everything that we've grown up with on the web architecture. Go to a React developer and say, what's your accessibility story for that page? And they're like, I don't do accessibility, I do a React, as if the two of them are completely the opposite. Not to mention page load time and all these other things. I'm about to turn this into a much different live stream, so let's continue. Okay, Back to going through the survey, anything in third-party packages that the two of you would like to talk about?
Well, it looks like I have to talk. I'm underneath it anyway, but it's interesting to see that there has been a reduction in the number of people using Django REST framework. I do think that there are a couple of things that might be driving that. I also love, I'm always pointing the wrong way, but I also love that we now have this question about whether you're using Django as a REST API or you're using full stack or something else. I'm not sure what they mean by that, but because I don't think we were necessarily asking that before, and it's really nice to see that a lot of people are still using Django templates. Anyway, so HTMX and the adoption of that, I do think that's part of the reason that there might be a bit of reduction in the usage of Django REST framework. But I would also say that Django Ninja is taking a little bit away of that market share. And if you were to click show more, Paul, on that page, I reckon Django Ninja will appear just above. There we go. Yes, you can see further down, it's still like much, there we go, Django Ninja went from almost non-existing to 6%, which is a huge jump. Like most people are really quite stable. And there's this, I can hear some people are saying that they've started using Django Ninja and that it just really fits their brain, that they find it like very easy to make things quite quickly, and that Django REST framework, it has a lot of features, but it takes a little bit of time to get used to. And yeah, the async support, the Pydantic, the typing and stuff that exists in Django Ninja, which is a little bit kind of fast API-esque. I can see why that will be attractive to some people.
For the record, we had a webinar with Christopher Trudeau in September 2022 on Django Ninja. If you want to see a walkthrough on it. Sarah A., I would let you comment on it, but instead we're going to go through a bunch of viewer comments and you can comment on those. Let's do the put Sarah A. on the spot moment. Sarah A., choose.
Hard to say. I think I will say JRF because I know it and I'm used to use it. So like if I would have to change, I think I will have a time to switch and learn everything, even it's not so much, but yeah. And the thing I like in JRF, it's easily customizable. So you can do like whatever you want.
I will second that point that every question has an answer. Every DRF question has an answer in Stack Overflow already. There's something nice about that. The new shiny thing looks great, but probably you're on your own. I'll flash this one up just as a counterpoint. I will also say this is the Paul Everett position from around 2018. I also believe that. So it is a good point to make. Let's see. We have some questions about particular packages. Sarah, your friend. Do you want to comment on this?
Well, me? Well, okay. So interesting comment, Mukul, because this like swallowing of packages is an interesting discussion in general, because I think some people would like to see Django semi-swallow DRF, like have some kind of inbuilt API solution. And there's many discussions about, should it be its own package? Should it be part of Django and stuff? So possibly, I don't know. It's always the answer. Good point, potentially.
All right, let's go on to another one. Both of you can comment on this. This has been very interesting to the PyCharm community for a very long time. How is the state of type hinting?
So we don't have types in Django core. There is a package Django stub.
Just to rub it in, I'll say an exact same comment. Go ahead.
There is a package Django stubs which adds some types kind of thing, and you can use this to add some typing. And I believe there is a Google Summer of Code suggested project around trying to add types into Django core. I will also plug that Simon Charette did of course, Django Chat is a great podcast. If you like Django, you really should be listening to Django Chat. He was on Django Chat, and this topic came up because he is a major Django ORM contributor, and there's a discussion as would it make contributions easier, adding typing, and is there a way forward of us adding it incrementally, because it would be impossible for us to try and do this all at once. And he has really good thoughts on that, which I will misquote, but he does see a way forward. I do think it could be possible, but these things take time.
Sarah A., for your own stuff, do you do typing?
Yes, I do. Especially in Kraken Tech, we use typing. So the package that Sarah was referring, we use it. And I think it's nice, but I'm just afraid, and I think Simon mentioned that also, it's when you had that in Django core, like for new contributor, they have to learn that, and maybe it could be like a barrier to contribute. So I don't know really if it will be a good thing, but I really want it to. So yeah.
All right, we will get back and move through things a little bit faster. Development tools, you see VS Code doing really well. PyCharm as a longtime Django IDE doing well also. I'll give props to the VS Code folks. Anything that improves the state of tooling, in particular, puts type hints to work, is a good thing for the Python community. I see that we have some controversy in the chat right now about Python typing and being Pythonic. But I believe the two can coexist. Interesting to see Linux retaining so much of a share. Perhaps that's about cloud or WSL or containers and Docker or something like that. Sarah A., what operating system do you use?
I'm on Mac, and
all right.
I like it.
Yeah. And then in production, what do you have?
We use containers also.
Okay.
So yeah, but it's more like on infrastructure and split it like with Kubernetes. But I guess this is something later in the survey.
Sarah B., got any comment?
No, nothing interesting.
Comment on CI or configuration tools?
I'm a GitHub Action fan. I really do enjoy the user experience of implementing them and making them. That's definitely very cool.
Sarah, got anything?
Yeah, I've been part of the beta when they launched it, so I'm really a big fan. And the thing I find it really cool is the fact that you can have everything in GitHub, especially if you have all your repo in that, so you don't have to switch to another tool to do like all your actions.
I have to flash this one up. Tim Schilling.
Yeah.
Okay, going through a little bit more. infrastructure as code, it has become a part of this survey because it's become a pretty big part of full stack DevOps and things like that. Either I'll do a survey of two. Either of you ever done Terraform?
I have tried, but not so much, really. The things I know that I find it really cool is to like create and delete resources really easily. You don't have to be like, for example, in a special infrastructure to do that. Give all the permission. I think it's more easy, and you have everything in the same file.
We will have a confirmation for you from a chat comment, promising that it's going to be an easy journey for you.
Yeah.
If not, you'll know who to go contact. All right, moving along a little bit. Either one of you want to talk anything about this section?
So we already talked a bit about types again.
Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, let's go down a little bit.
All right, let me know when we hit something you want to cover. Do either one of you want to put out a call for documentation contributors?
I mean, they are some of the best people in the world. And always happy to have more people who have opinions and experience in writing good documentation. It is something that we take very seriously with Django. Everything has to be documented. That you can't implement a new feature without documenting it. And writing good docs is definitely an art rather than necessarily a science. But it is something that you can get better at. In fact, we had that. I think on the Django Not Space YouTube channel. We even have a recording around how the Django documentation can be better.
All right.
And has some really good tips in there. So I recommend you check it out.
Sarah B., I'm finally getting back to the show notes that you prepared where you indicated the things that we would flag. So I'm going to try and look between 4 windows now. And you wanted to talk about what the two of you use for resources about staying up to date in Django and things like that. We will start. Actually, Sarah B., we'll start with you.
Oh, sorry. I'm so used to Sarah's. I'm like, is that me? Yeah. So,
what's your favorite?
It's weird because I've become like semi-integrated in some of these worlds. So I am on the forum all the time for various things. I am in the Discord. I help to I write a small section in the Django News newsletter. If someone isn't subscribed, please subscribe. It's a great newsletter. And then DjangoProject.com. I'm curious what people think this means, because do you read that as just generally the docs, or do you read that as like the blog, like the news element of DjangoProject.com? So that I would be curious what people think.
Sarah A., do you want to comment on the intent? What do you view its purpose as?
Yeah, I think I would like to have a question like that in the survey, to be honest. Because I usually use DjangoProject.com, but for the news, more for the blog, and also for the documentation, of course. But for development, it's not the thing I use a lot, to be honest. I'm usually using like the Mastodon for that, and also like the forum.
Yes.
And there is also like in Discord you have like a channel with some commits and things related to that. So this is something also you can follow. But I think I'm mostly in Mastodon.
I spent a lot of time watching Jeff and Carlton go back and forth on things. It's pretty funny. And Will. I'm going to flag this one. It'll be interesting which one of you wants to talk about how someone can contribute to docs. Can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So, okay. Here's my general advice for new contributors. 1, consider applying to Django Space because this is what it stands for. So that's one thing. 2, I really recommend the Django Discord if you're the kind of person who enjoys a live chat. There is a channel in there that's called Contributors Getting Started. If you're ever stuck, just say hello with what you're stuck with, and then I'm sure there'll be some people who engage with you. That was specifically around docs, I believe, but the Django documentation also includes quite extensive documentation on how to contribute to Django. It even has like a tutorial taking you through like a dummy contribution. But there is like a guide on writing the docs also. So yeah, read the guide, read the tutorial on how a contribution works. Go to the Discord if you need help. You can also post in the forum if you need help. There are lots of really helpful people who I'm sure will answer your questions. But apply to Django Space also. Yeah.
Okay, so mission accomplished on that one.
Yay!
Yay.
And Sarah A., this heart goes out to you.
Oh, yes, that's really true. The documentation is really amazing. And thanks to all the people who contribute to that.
And then one more comment. Join me next time when Jeff and I talk about how Tailwind really isn't needed. You really should just use CSS directly. Jeff just unfollowed me on Mastodon. Okay, speeding up a little bit. We're going to get into, so we talked about different channels for things out there. We're going to talk about Python versions. Anything jump out here? Hey, and viewers for you as well. Anything jump out that you're like, I don't believe that's true? Does anything stand out as right or wrong? Sarah A., let's start with you. What do you think about this?
When I see the survey, I didn't thought it was as much for the 3.11 version. I would imagine it will be less. But yeah, I think it's also related to all the features that had been added in Python, especially like for performances. And I truly think it's helped a lot, and people would want to move to the next version related to that.
Sarah B?
Yeah, 100%. I would say Python is also similarly to Django. It's very stable, very easy to upgrade, and we do have some benchmarks on the performance of Django of various features. We tried to do it to track whether there was a performance regression associated with some contribution. And it's what you can see with this is just how much of an impact just upgrading Python does, because you can see that like the performance of Django does generally improve across the board if you upgrade Python. So they're doing a great job on all those things. And yeah, I'm not surprised people want to upgrade.
As John points out, there might be some survey bias. We have the same thing administering the Python Developer Survey. So if anybody has any ideas how we can get the links in front of kind of the dark web of users who don't follow Twitter and Mastodon successfully. I also learned today that when you host a webinar with, hi, Sarah, Siri keeps thinking that I'm talking. Siri, it worked that time. You can see Siri thinks that I'm saying Siri when I say Sarah. I wonder if you have that problem with your phones.
I have this problem. I also have like a problem that I think I have an unconventional laugh, and sometimes my laugh triggers things such as Siri sometimes, and I'm just like, what? And it's just like, I didn't quite get that. And I'm like, why are you talking to me? All this kind of stuff. And I used to, now we're very off topic, I used to have a key fob that if you whistle, it would make a noise. And it wouldn't make a noise when I whistled, but it would when I laughed. And it was just the most annoying thing because I would laugh and then it goes, okay.
All right, let's go on to the next thing. Tools to upgrade your Python environments has gotten to be a little bit of a topic of discussion in the last few months. It feels like a lot of innovation coming. Well, Sarah A., do you want to talk about what you see over the last few years, what you see at Django Paris, what you recommend to people?
Yeah, I think like the last thing I've seen recently, like it's use the VMs because it's easy to install. You don't have like to install packages or stuff like that just to run it, and you can create your virtual env really easily. And but I know, like for example, in my company we are using virtual env mostly, and I have, for example, myself a setup which done everything and I don't want to change it. So yeah, I'm really used to it. So I think it's mostly relevant in the survey. Like I guess there are people who are used to something and they don't plan to change it. And sometimes if you want to like you create a project and you want to start like using it, you can go for something which is easy and create a VM. That's all.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We have a bunch of comments coming in about PyEnv, about Rough, about the different tools in the Astral universe as they come out, like UV and stuff like that. So this is going to be an area maybe where over the next couple of years we see a lot of innovation. Certainly room for improvement. Code formatters. Do either of you want to comment on that?
I love Black. I really do think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember years ago, I used to have these horrible discussions on pull requests, which are like very minor. I think the format looks nicer like this and all this kind of stuff. And I love that Black has completely removed that.
Oh, yeah.
From the conversation. So yeah, I really do encourage people to use formatters and linters that have a bit of an opinion and that you just apply it and then you can have more useful conversation.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like there is more like a standard way and everyone refer to that and you don't have to start conversation like should we have like simple or double quote or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure both of you over the years have been either participants or maintainers of big repos with lots of contributors and these kind of commit wars about style guide stuff. There's no point to that. We're going to get into the process of wrapping up since we're at the top of the hour. I don't know if either of you have a particular part of the survey for what we haven't covered that you really wanted to jump into. If not, we will wrap up with cloud stuff and containers.
I think there was one area where it showed some demographics of the community itself. And I just kind of want to do a shout out to the Django community in general.
Here we go. That's a much better finishing point. Demographics.
And like the community is actually super global, and it's really cool to see that last year there was the first DjangoCon Africa, and another shout out to Mo, who is a star from Django Not Space, who founded Django Social Egypt, which is the first Django Social community in Africa, and all these different communities that do exist globally and are really supportive of each other. It's something that we also experience with Django Not Space. We get such a diverse global group of people who are interested and get really involved. Yeah, So Django is very, very cool in that sense.
So we've got that up now. Let me see. Yeah, that's it. All right, there's Joseph. We've got that up now. Sarah, do you want to add any comments on that?
Yeah, just to follow like what Sarah says, like now in Django we have like a page who regroup all the events like meetups from all the world, and you should all check out. And this is nice to see like every country they are doing things and gather together. And if there are any other events, it would be nice also to refer them. So please ask me or do something. But yeah, this is a way also to see each other and see people doing Django and everything we have in common.
Before we get out of this, would you say Django Girls has a pretty global footprint?
I'm so pleased you mentioned Django Girls. This was something I was like, I should remember. I should remember to say something about Django Girls, and I nearly forgot. Yes, Django Girls is incredible. It is the 10-year anniversary of Django Girls. For those who don't know, this is like a community initiative where there's this tutorial. It's an incredible tutorial that takes you through making your first Django web application. And these workshops, which is a one-day workshop, get organized in different cities across the world. Yes, it's enormous and it's amazing. And it has taught so many women and girls, like often their very first experience with programming at all. And so many different people in our community is a Django girl and alumni, whether that was their first experience programming or they're mentors or all these things. Django Girls is wonderful, and you should check them out. And congratulations to them for 10 years of being awesome.
Sarah, you want to put a little bow on that about Django Girls?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really amazing community. I've been mentoring for that. So even like if there is an event near your place, please be a mentor, be a coach. It's also helpful like to have like new people joining that. And like, yeah, we have like people from this community who are really amazing figure in our community. So I'm really glad we have this.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this up in just a second. One last thing to put on the screen on the point about the survey itself. Take the survey, get a prize. Everyone loves prizes. We will go ahead and start the process of closing out a little bit. That's it for our trip through the world of Django trends. Beyond the data from the survey, I'd like to close with both of you first by begging you to come back and let's do this again every year, but just talk a little more subjectively on how you think Django is doing out there. Anything that makes your heart sing about the world of Django, whether it's in the code or the community. Sarah A., let's start with you.
Yeah, sure. I really like this community. I think this is kind of obvious with all the stuff I'm doing. And the thing I really like with this community is I've been joining. I will take my example. It will be more simple. I joined this community through a conference, and I make so much friend with that. I changed my career with that. So it can change your life, and this is really amazing to be part of it. And I hope I will help also people to join and be welcoming as I've been welcomed to the community.
Sarah B?
Yeah, just a massive underline to what Sarah said. I have some of my best friends are through the Django community. Sarah actually joined me on my very unusual hen night the other weekend, which is incredible. And yeah, the other thing I'd say is there's so much going on in Django, both on the like contributing level to Django. It's not old and boring. It is progressing all the time. There is exciting stuff that's actively being worked on. What the accessibility team is doing is amazing, and huge shout out to them. But yeah, we are also engaged with Google Summer of Code, with Django Not Space. There are discussions all the time about how to make Django bigger and better. But yeah, the community itself is also like no other experience I've ever had, and I really hope you engage with us because we're nice, and we'd love you to be a part of it.
And there are so many names that we could drop and say thank you to, but I'll choose one who seems to be someone that glues everything together. Rachel Calhoun in the chat with us. Thanks, Rachel, for everything that you've done. And thanks, Sarah and Sarah, for the recap. Let's go ahead and do the slides to get out of here. Let's do the paid promotional part of the live stream. If you'd like to get any more information on PyCharm, the best Django IDE on the planet, please go to our website at jetbrains.com/PyCharm. If you haven't already, please check out our blog where you can find up-to-date news for things like this, upcoming releases. We just had a bunch of releases, which means we're about to start all over again, adding new stuff to PyCharm. We'd like your feedback on this. We actually read your feedback. Make sure you say how much you love us, because other people read it and I don't want to get in trouble. But share any ideas that you have about what we should cover. Tell us how much you love Sarah and how frequently they should come back, and we will force them to come back and talk about everything there is in the world of Django. That's it for us today. Sarah, thanks for joining us, handling everything in the world of Django. And thank you to everyone that watched this live stream. Hope you have a nice rest of the day.